Okay, so in this video we'll be setting up Python and installing an editor for us to use. So first step, we open a browser, we go to conda.io. So there are different ways to install and work with Python. Conda is one of them. So Conda is a package dependency environment management system. Can be used for many different languages. But of course we'll be using Python. So it's open source and it's available for both Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. So even though I'm working on a Windows installation right now, everything I do here will be quite easy to follow, even if you're on a Mac or Linux system. So basically, Conda allows us to manage all our Python packages. So alongside Python, we'll be installing different packages for different purposes later on. And Conda is one way to manage that. It's quite popular, I would say, and it's probably the best way to get started. So even Conda comes in two different flavors, like the full Conda installation that already includes a lot of packages. Then there is a Miniconda here, which only contains the most basic Python packages you'll need. So we'll be using Miniconda and install the packages we need later on. So go ahead and click Miniconda. Yeah, so Miniconda is a free minimal installer, so it only includes the most basic packages. It comes in both a Windows, Mac OS, and Linux flavor. Again, we'll be using the Windows one, so I'll go ahead and download that one. See, now it's completed, so let's try installing that one. So next, we agree. So we can install it as just for this user, or we can install it for the whole computer. I would recommend you choose just your own user, just me. Yes, destination folder, that's fine. We don't have to add it to our path. I'll go ahead and add Miniconda to my path. I recommend doing so. More on that later, but for now, just add it to path. It takes a couple of seconds. Yes, now it's completed. I don't need tutorial or getting started guide right now. So let's just finish the installation. Yeah. So the next step is to install Visual Studio Code. So Visual Studio Code is an editor we can use to write Python scripts, to debug our Python scripts, and to work like more efficiently with Python. So let's go ahead. Let's search for Visual Studio Code. Yes. So this is the website. Of course, I'll be installing the Windows version. I think you can also find a Mac OS and a Linux version. But I'll go ahead and download the Windows version. Just takes a couple of seconds. Let's see. So yes, accept agreement. Yeah, let's choose this default installation path. This is within our user folder as well. Should be fine. Yes. For now, let's create a desktop icon. And let's add these two options. So it basically integrates Visual Studio Code with our Explorer. Yes, install. Yes, let's launch Visual Studio Code. So now we have Visual Studio Code editor open. First of all, let's go to the left pane here under extensions and install the Python extension. So let's search for Python, and it's that first one that pops up, made by Microsoft. So let's click install. Now it's installing. In a couple of seconds it should be installed. Yes, now that's installed. Let's go ahead and close that one. Let's remove this extension pane. So now we are ready to write our first Python script. So let's go file, let's create a new file. The extension will be py. It basically means it's a Python file. So we can choose create a new file, py. Yes, let's go, and let's choose a name. Let's call it my first script. .py. Created. Now we see it's already been created here on my desktop. This is basically a plain text file with the extension py, and it should, Visual Studio Code should recognize this py as a Python file. So you can see already in my system it popped up here, but you can click that one and you can choose the interpreter for Python files. So we see it's already found my Miniconda free installation. So you should choose your Miniconda installation as well. So now we basically told Visual Studio Code to use our Miniconda installation for our Python files. So now that we have our Python file open, let's go ahead and write some really basic Python code. Let's define a new variable, call it x. I give it a value of 1, and let's try printing that value. So let's print x. I hit Control S quite a lot to save the files. So before I save the file, we see that white small dot up here, which basically means that the file isn't saved yet. So I'll add X and I hit Control S. You could also go File and Save, of course. Save the file. And now let's try running this program. We of course will expect it to print out a value of 1. So let's just run without debugging for now. And we see it opened a new terminal here, and it outputted a value of 1. So it seems to be running fine now.